It's an everyday thing. It's an everyday thing. It's an everyday thing when you let your nuts hang.
For the first time in decades, CBS News is no longer reporting from inside the Pentagon. Our reporters, alongside those from dozens of networks, newspapers, and wire services, emptied out their booths and workspaces this past week. The journalists exited rather than agree to a 21-page list of new restrictions which would prevent them from soliciting information that has not been pre-approved by the government. The Department of War, as the current administration calls it, has a $1 trillion budget and employs 3 million military and civilian employees. CBS will continue to report from outside the building, but journalists will no longer have the day-to-day, face-to-face contact with the military that helps the public understand what U.S. troops are facing. Secretary Hegseth once promised the most transparent administration ever. But as one former defense official told us, the American people are going to know a lot less about what their Department of War is doing. For the first time in decades, CBS News is no longer reporting from inside.
Exactly. How are you guys liking Craig Kipper? How are you guys liking Craig Kipper?
Craig.
It should be. It is everybody on the river.
Hold your health up front.
Depending on which way we go.
How are you guys liking Craig Kipper?
Sorry to interrupt the photos.
Oh, you're good.
Quite some time.
I'm sure a few centuries.
We stay in touch, okay?
Yes,
All right.
take it easy.
Time.
I'm sure a few centuries.
We stay in touch, okay?
Yes,
All
take
right.
it easy.
Soup.
Oh yeah.
Hold your health up front.
Depending on which way we go.
Some pretty personal attacks coming from the Pentagon about what they call the self-righteous news media not abiding by their agreements. And we should note the media that has refused to sign off on these Pentagon protocols is not just CNN, ABC, NBC, CBS, New York Times, Washington Post, etc. It's also right-leaning media like Fox and the Daily Caller and others, the Washington Times. But let us get beyond the personal insults coming from Pentagon officials and talk about what the actual issues are. One of the main issues that we have in the media here is on page 4. It says any solicitation of Department of War, that's what they call the Department of Defense, Department of War personnel to commit criminal acts would not be considered protective activity under the First Amendment. This is the crux of why these rules are so unacceptable, because solicitation is asking for information. So they're saying that asking for information could be not protected under the First Amendment. And let me be very clear, when they say asking,
You know, more attacks on the First Amendment, and this is coming from journalists. Like, so now, first it was the TV show host, now it's the people actually reporting and going to the White House briefings that now have to, before they report what they have seen, they now have to turn it in to, I guess, I don't know who they got to turn it into, but they got to turn it into somebody. And they're going to have to, you know, be authorized to release that publication or scrap it.
for information, they include just posting something on your social media page saying, send us tips right here. It says on page 10, solicitation includes, quote, public advertisements or calls for tips, encouraging Department of War employees to share non-public Department of War information. And just to underline this, they are not only talking about classified information. They include what they describe as CUI. What is CUI? Well, it defines it right there. Controlled, unclassified information. CUI is a mark that the Pentagon uses to try to control the flow of information. It doesn't have any legal basis. And they're saying CUI is not protected by the First Amendment when it is shared by Pentagon employees and when we in the news media solicit or try to ask information. Also, by the way, we don't always, when we're reporting on information, get the documents. Sometimes somebody might share some information with us, and we don't know if it's CUI or not, because we're not abiding by Pentagon rules. We're abiding by the law, and also we are abiding by the calling of journalism to tell you, the public, what is going on. The Pentagon is a $1 trillion a year federal agency doing all sorts of things all over the world, including taking out boats from Venezuela that the administration claims are narco-terrorists, including sending troops into U.S. cities. So we have an interest here in telling you what's going on, how they're spending your money, what they are doing in your name. The Pentagon, under this leadership, does not want to share that information. They want complete control. They are asking journalists who cover the Pentagon to agree to a lesser standard, a lesser protection under the First Amendment to do our jobs, to solicit, ask for information. It's not acceptable, and it is completely contrary to what American men and women are fighting for when they fight to protect our ideals.
So, do y'all think that this is, do y'all think that this is right? What the Pentagon is doing? I mean, listen, it's one way or another. When we say no kings, okay, one way or another, it's becoming more of a kingdom, okay. And if you speak out against this regime, you know, you never know. You never know, okay? Let's just say September 10th wasn't an accident, okay? Let's keep going, because it's just more to it. I mean, just in the comment section, let me know what y'all think about the media being silenced.
What's happened at the Pentagon. Do you have a sense for why the Secretary of Defense seems to be afraid to interact with journalists who cover him?
I mean, reject the premise. There's nothing. There's, the guy, fear is not part of the Secretary of War's makeup.
I mean, the guy's only had 2 briefings since he became Secretary of Defense.
He's very transparent.
And they've basically forced the Pentagon press out of the building unless they would agree to sign a pledge that would make it impossible to be an independent journalist.
I can't remember, and I don't think you can either, a Secretary of Defense who has been so transparent, out in the open, talking about priorities,
principles. Oh, I can. I covered the building, and I traveled around the world with Secretaries of Defense. I interviewed them. I questioned them in the briefing room. Other reporters did as well.
But did all those secretaries come out and do public speeches as often as Hegseth does, to be everywhere all the time among the troops?
But I mean, answering questions.
He's restoring.
And of course, you guys haven't brought him up to ask about what's happening in Venezuela.
We're not in session because Chuck Schumer shut the government down, okay? We have a lot of things to do, but I will tell you this about the Secretary of War. We are winning. We are restoring peace through strength. That's one of our core.
Understand that journalism is being silenced. I don't know if they're being silenced, but they could go in there. It's just they have to report.
The whole story is being told.
They have to report what's being reported, right? I'm assuming,
To our viewers here, what they're really doing, they want to spoon feed information to the journalists, and that will be their story. That's not journalism. Journalism is going out and finding the story and getting all the facts to support it.
The general is old enough to remember how the Pentagon lied repeatedly during the 1960s across the Kennedy administration, the Johnson administration, and the Nixon administration. It was constant lies every day. And as a result of it, Willie, 57,000 young men and some women died in Vietnam. That is a war that history now teaches us was built on lies. And what do reporters think looking back? We should have asked tougher questions. We should have pursued the truth more. You have men and women sacrificing for this country who die, and the idea that these people are not to be asked questions. It's not the Soviet Union. This is the United States of America. Thank you very much.
They saying that the media was going in rooms and places that they shouldn't have been, and stepping in meetings that were considered to
It's the home of the most powerful
considered to be classified, and they want to keep all them out. So I'm not sure. This is just like the one big beautiful bill. Honestly, you just got to break it down. I guess one day we'll break it down. Probably
military in the world, but today it suffered a revolt. Almost all of the journalists covering the Pentagon handed in their passes, proclaiming they would rather lose access than abide by new controversial rules. Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth announced new guidelines for reporters, stopping them from obtaining unauthorized material and limiting where they can go and who they can speak to inside the Pentagon. Almost all news organisations, from the New York Times to Fox News, criticised the policy, saying it stopped them from doing their jobs and impeded the free press.
Well, yeah, if they going into certain rooms and asking people certain questions, everybody's not authorized to speak to journalism, to the journalists. I said journalism, to the journalists. And when somebody gives out information that shouldn't be out, they're expecting that news could be classified, and that person probably just, well, shit, blame it on the person. The person shouldn't be. If you can say no comment. That's what you should say. If you don't know if you're supposed to be giving out information, just like if you ain't supposed to be talking to the cops, you ain't supposed to be talking to no journalists. No comment. I plead the fifth. Something, but just move around. But the journalists, they are creating relationships with these people, and some of these people speak freely and they're not supposed to. And I'm sure that information is getting out that shouldn't be out because, of course, all administrations want to keep stuff on the hush, but especially when they're doing criminal activity, or so they say, like bombing fishing boats in Venezuelan Caribbean waters.
Because they didn't agree to the new rules, dozens of journalists were today barred from the Pentagon, marking the closure of the press offices that had been reporting on the military for decades. But the reporters are not deterred, with a Reuters correspondent posting that they would continue to hold the US military accountable from outside.
Secretary Hegseth said is just a lie. He painted this portrait of sort of reporters randomly roaming through the halls of the Pentagon without credentials, bursting into classified meetings and forcing their way onto, SEAL Team 6 helicopters for the idea that reporters are just wandering around and trying to find state secrets by busting in and interrupting things. Reporters at the Pentagon who work there, who've worked there for many years, they have badges, they know the rules, no one goes into classified areas. I mean, just the portrayal of it is based on a lie. And look, we've heard far too many lies, and it's really disappointing. It's important for whatever you think of reporters. It is important that you have people asking questions, and you have people. I think there are many forms of patriotism, and telling the truth is one of them.
But also, this is also a thing. I remember maybe a year ago, or maybe it wasn't a year ago, but didn't Pete Hegseth text in the group chat some journalists some war plans or something like that? I think he fumbled the ball too. He's part of the problem. You know what I'm saying? He a keyboard warrior, and he texted some bullshit out, and that got out, and yeah, so that's what this is. He's trying to cover his ass for some stuff he did years or a year ago, or whenever it was, months ago. But yeah, so he messed up too. So it ain't just them journalists. Y'all can't keep talking to the journalists and wait till you go to the White House press briefing and tell what you can tell, and stop texting people in group chats on unsecure lines. That's it. I mean, it happens. It happens. Yeah, he messed up, dog. He messed up.
This is also a really important chapter in what it means to stand up to authoritarianism. Nicole, we have talked about the fact that, the people have been brave. Individual Americans, the people who you're going to see out this Saturday at the No Kings protests, the people who you've seen in every state of the country almost every day of the week taking some act of protest against Trump, those folks have been brave and principled and unafraid. The cowardice that we have seen has been from institutions, and that includes media organizations and news organizations, where we've seen executives over and over and over again make cowardly and craven decisions to try to appease Trump or please him in some way in the hopes that maybe that earns you another day of being allowed to operate at his pleasure. It's just been disgusting what we've seen from the most important and valuable corporations in this country and law firms and universities and all the rest of it. In this case, we've got all of those Pentagon reporters with their news organizations behind them standing up and saying, no, we are not stenographers. We are not going to work under strictures where we are only allowed to write down what you tell us we can write down. That's not journalism, and we're not going to do it under those terms. We'll do it some other way. We'll give up these bureaus, these physical bureaus inside the Pentagon, sure, and that is a compromise, absolutely. We will find other ways to do this work, because you keeping us here while we only write what you want and approve us of saying would have us working here as your lackeys rather than working as journalists, and we're journalists. I find this to be incredibly inspiring, and I don't know how it's going to result or how it's going to resolve in terms of what happens with that press space inside the Pentagon. But when journalists and the news organizations that employ them stand up like this, particularly ones on the right, it is a good sign about the self-respect and vision and values and bravery of people who are really important to the health of our democracy.
There's one news source that signed this document. It's the OAN network. The OAN network, I think it is. So if you ever watch the OAN network, it's pretty much a Trump-loving media organization where it don't matter what he say. Man, he could say, grab her by the genitals, and they will spin it to the best conversation that Trump, he's the president. He should be able to grab a woman by her genitals. I mean, I don't see anything wrong with it. Sometimes maybe that'll calm him down if, someone gives him a little grab down there. Someone hasn't been down there in a while, so, they'll spin it like that. I mean, they just love Trump. So if we want to get the news from the White House, we'll go there and we'll see what they have to say. And I'm pretty sure whatever comes out of their journalism, it'll be like, the economy's great, gas prices are down, Trump has stopped 7 wars. Even though he's starting 2 more, that doesn't matter. The ratio 7-2 is a great ratio, right? That's what's gonna happen. We're gonna get that. So